So for the pasta frolla, we need 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, which I have right here, and I'm going to put it right into my food processor. So 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, and then to lighten this up a little bit, I like to use a cup of cake flour. Then we want some sugar, so we've got about 2 tablespoons of sugar in here, and 1½ teaspoons of salt. And all you really want to do is whirl this part up, just to blend it a little bit. So I give it a couple hits, and that's it. So that's easy. But it's the next part where you have to really pay attention, because now to get flakiness from a dough like this, we need to use butter. And why do I want frozen butter? Well, folks, you want to keep that butter from melting right into the flour. And the minute you start handling butter, your hands are warm. So that's going to create a little bit of softness in the butter. So, and you'll see little pieces of it in the dough. That's what you want. That's going to create the flakiness that you want. You see how cold that is. And now we want to whirl that up, not too much. So put the top back on and give it a few pulses. You don't want to work it too much. But because you've grated it, you see, it takes less time to get it mixed into the flour. All right, that's one part of cold. Now we need eggs. So for this particular recipe, we need 1 large or extra large egg, and we need 1 egg yolk. So don't transfer shell to shell. Make sure your hands are clean, and let the egg white fall into a bowl. There's your second egg yolk. So we want to whirl that up a little bit, because the more you do here, the less you have to work the dough there. So right through the feed tube now, I'm going to put this on and add the egg. I don't want to work that too much. I'm trying to create flakiness. There's the butter and the egg. Now, we need enough water here in order to keep this dough cold, but also to give us a ball of dough that holds together. Take a piece of paper, plastic wrap. Once you do that, gather it together, kind of into a disc shape. So now this goes in the refrigerator. Put it in the refrigerator, save the rest. And while you're working on this piece should stay cold. So I'm going to put that back in the paper. And then I'm going to add just a bit more flour and put this on top. Now, why am I doing this? Well, because I don't want to work too much flour into the dough. Now, you get out your trusty rolling pin and you start rolling this out. And flop it right in this pan, just like that. I'm going to use that later. And what you want to do is fit that dough right in there. And it needs to relax a little bit. It may give you a little bit of resistance forming it around the edges, but if you just lay it in there and then go back to it and pinch it, you'll get it formed around the edges. So it just takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to put it back in the fridge. And if you're going to do this right away, you don't have to cover it, but if you're not, then I would cover it with a little piece of plastic wrap. Get the best, freshest ricotta cheese you can find. You need about a pound of ricotta cheese. And then you've got to cook some berries. If you're going to make this the traditional way, here's what you need to do. These are wheat berries. They're loaded, packed with protein. This is the traditional way to make this pie. You would put them in a pan. This is a cup of wheat berries with 2 cups of milk. 2 cups of milk. And you're going to let that cook. And with it, you want to add a vanilla bean. You put the whole thing in, and you let that cook. So we're going to let that go. And all of that wheat is going to absorb that milk. If you're making this the Italian-American version, many people like to use arborio rice, the same rice that you would use for making risotto. That's this. Or they'll use long grain rice. But the wheat berries are the more traditional way to do it. All right, so now we have that. We've got to add some sugar to our ricotta. So you mix in some sugar. And we need a few other flavorings for this. We need, of course, our wheat berries. Here they are cooked. I'm going to take the vanilla bean out. A cup of wheat berries will give you 2 cups of cooked. So in that goes all of it. You mix that around. This makes a very, very hearty pie. And then we need 3 eggs. So you beat those up a bit. They go in. Delicious and rich. And what I like to use, this is something called Fior di Sicilia. It has a wonderful orangey flavor. So I give that about, a tablespoon or so. You can find this stuff in a pastry shop, or you can find it online. A little bit of vanilla goes in, and of course some cinnamon. I like cinnamon, so you could put in about a teaspoon and a half. Or if you don't like cinnamon, you could leave it out. So I like it. I'm going to put in a good hefty teaspoon of cinnamon. Mix this all up. And for that orange, if you want that extra orange flavor in there, take a nice beautiful orange and add some of the zest. So you've got that all mixed up. That's your filling. And now we're ready to fill our shell. Give it a little shake. And then you have your strips ready all the way around. Trying to be like a pastry carpenter in the kitchen here. Get that all off. And now what you want to do is have your oven on at 375 degrees. Now, we want to brush this a little bit with an egg wash. So crack 1 more egg. Give that a little swift mix. Your oven is on at 375 degrees. You brush the top gently, just to give this a little color in the oven. And just to ensure that there are no spills with this, I would put it on some type of a baking sheet, but I think this is going to be fine. So 375 degrees, preheated for about 50 to 55 minutes. You want this to come out in one piece. Go all the way around. Say a prayer. And carefully lift off the top. And there you have it. The Neapolitan pastiera made the traditional way.